Welcome to the Queen City Soccer Show. I'm Level Up Luke, and I'm joined by Cole Godfrey and Sam Spencer from Soccer Sheet. Cole, how are you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing well, man. Can't complain. Appreciative of Sam doing this for us. We really appreciate it. So yeah, Sam, how you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good. It's hard not to feel really good about Charlotte FC after this weekend's performance.
Absolutely. With a new season comes, some new faces, and we are fortunate enough, Sam, that you wanted us to collaborate here with publishing the Jaylin Lindsey interview that you did, kind of an exit interview. Can you tell us a little bit about how this interview came together?
Yeah, so I've been doing these exit interviews, and of course, Jalen has been a big friend of Soccer Sheet. He was the player who was on our awards committee for the first ever Footy Awards. He's been a really great ally, and so of course, when it turned out that the club declined his option at the end of last season, it was really sad to see him go. He had been signed after a really good second year to a contract that gave him another year with an option for 2025. Charlotte declined that option, and as part of offloading some of their defensive talent, Ernan wanted to go back to Europe. The club didn't really stop them. Jalen definitely wanted to stay, especially because he's one of the OGs. He's one of the people who has a lot of history with the club, and of course is a Charlotte native, mother taught in Charlotte Mecklenburg schools, has a lot of connections to the area, and he goes into everything from growing up in Charlotte in this interview to making the move when he was a young kid out to KC, playing for youth national teams for the US, and then how he came back to Charlotte FC to be a part of the Crown for the inaugural season.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to say just a little bit of background on Jalen. He was with Sporting Kansas City for, at least 4 seasons, and he got a significant amount of playing time, altogether 50 games. He is an MLS level player. He was a starting player for Charlotte FC for a while. Unfortunately, it didn't work out with the current plan, but I think with this interview and his move to New Mexico being announced, the USL championship level, I think, is a level he can absolutely thrive at. And I wouldn't be surprised if he gets another chance in MLS sooner rather than later, whether that's this year or possibly next.
Absolutely. And the first one of these exit interviews I did was a year ago. It's sort of funny how this all comes out. And it was with Mackenzie Gaines. And when Mackenzie's option was declined by Charlotte after year two, he did a little time for Nashville and Houston, I believe. And now he's at New Mexico United. And so he was there before Jalen came over. And so it was my plan all along to reach out to Jalen, get this done. We traded emails, and then of course the holiday season happened. And but it was really funny because it turned out that I would be talking to him the day before the announcement was going to come out. And so obviously, he asked me to keep it under wraps. You'll hear in the interview him talking about an announcement coming the next day. So, it's clear we recorded this on Wednesday of last week. And, I talked to his team, and they were happy to give Soccer Sheet the exclusive on it, which was really nice. Mackenzie hopped on the phone while I was at Yafo with Rebecca, and gave some nice words about being on the team with Jalen. So it was the perfect time to interview him, because you like to see good things happen to good people. Jalen was definitely one of the really good people in the club. He was always game for whatever we wanted to do on the press side. I think it's also really important to point out that in addition to having a really good sense of humor, and Brant Bronico told me last week that Jalen was the funniest person who's ever been on Charlotte FC all 4 years. He also never shied back from standing up for what he believes in. So, in 2020, during the George Floyd protest, after George Floyd was murdered, he was one of the first people from MLS to speak up, and got a lot of attention for that, and unfortunately, because there's still everything from racist chants to homophobic chants in football. That sort of voice and raising that level is still needed, and Jaylin was unafraid to do that.
Absolutely. Cole, what are your thoughts or memories of Jaylin with Charlotte FC?
Yeah, man. I mean, honestly, I think that the very very first match, specifically at home against the Galaxy, I thought he was extremely good, and I remember I didn't know a lot about him when he first come to the club and when the club was just beginning. But getting to, I knew obviously that he was a local guy and knew that he was a very good defender and could get forward really good as a right back or left back really. And I just remember that first match against the Galaxy. Obviously, that Charlotte didn't score. They gave up that golazo that cost them the match 1-0. But I just remember thinking just how great Jaylin played that match. And then obviously as the years transpired, man, when he was on the pitch, he was always even from the back line, he was always such an offensive threat. He had a really, really good long ball on him, very good link up play with no matter if he was on the left or right, and no matter who was out right or left, as far as on the wings. So New Mexico United is getting a very good player. I didn't know him obviously on the personal side like Sam does, but as a from a player standpoint and just getting to watch him over these past 4 years, I think that New Mexico's getting a guy. He's only 24 years old. He's got a bright future ahead of him. He just needs playing time, and he wasn't going to start over Nathan, and he wasn't going to get a lot of minutes starting over Ream. So it didn't make sense for him here from a logistics standpoint for the club. But just him getting playing time and stuff out at New Mexico and USL is going to be massive, and I definitely expect to see him back in MLS, if not another league, very soon.
Absolutely. I mean, I can just say I've mentioned it on here before. Like I've met his mom at some of the Charlotte FC watch parties, and I just know he has such a loving family, and he does like live streams where he's gaming and talking to the fans and the community. I love Jaylin. I was hardcore the play Jaylin Lindsey every damn game crowd, and in that first season, he was a bright spot on the team, having that experience with SKC, along with Brant Bronico coming from the Fire. They were some of those like guys that injected some of that MLS level play during that tough first season, and I'm very disappointed. He's a local boy. He's one of our own, but Jaylin Lindsey, I wish the best for him. And going into this interview, Sam, thank you so much for the exclusive. Can you tell the folks where they can find your work and where they can follow you on social?
Absolutely. We're going to have a follow-up piece on the exit interview at soccersheet.com, www.soccersheet.com. You can find our coverage. We are having a really good year so far. We've grown our team. We have more people who are taking more photos at more matches, and I'm really excited to share that with everybody. We've really put together some good people who care about the sport and care about growing football in Charlotte. So I'm really excited for what's going on, and definitely excited for everybody to hear, how great a person Charlotte lost when they didn't re-sign Jaylin, because I think as we've all said, only got 299 minutes in his last season. He needed playing time. He needed to be somewhere that was going to respect his talent and give him the playing time that he needs. But it's easy to forget that the man had 6 goal contributions in his second year with Charlotte FC, which 6 goal contributions for a defensive player is a lot. And I think we're all going to miss how big an impact he's had on the team. But we'll also be watching him and McKenzie at New Mexico United in some really dope kits, sponsored by Meow Wolf, by the way. And I really hope he succeeds out there, because, as both of you know, it's a really exciting time for the USL. They're going to add a division after the World Cup, where we might find places for more people like Jaylin and McKenzie, who are sort of bouncing between MLS and USL championship. So I think the future is bright for Jaylin, and the future is bright for Charlotte and football across the country.
Absolutely. And I don't know what a Meow Wolf is, but I will echo those are some dope Puma kits that New Mexico has. I might have to add that to my kit wish list here. That is pretty sick. And hopefully we'll see New Mexico United in the U.S. Open Cup, and got a USL championship team to cheer for here. Obviously, Charleston Battery is kind of local, NCFC kind of local, but Mackenzie Gaines and Jaylin Lindsey, that catapults that to the top of my rankings immediately. All
Yep.
right,
And New Mexico, if you're listening, play Jaylin Lindsey every damn game.
play Jaylin Lindsey every damn game. All right, guys. Well, hey, thank you so much, and enjoy the interview.
Cheers.
Awesome. Well, Jaylin, thank you so much for taking the time out with me today. I definitely wanted to talk to you and give you a buzz to recap your time at Charlotte FC and talk about all the amazing stuff you've accomplished in your career and what's next. How's everything going?
Everything's going well, man. I'm just trying to obviously figure out the best situation for me. Currently, with the team right now, obviously I won't confirm obviously until obviously it gets announced tomorrow, but just for now I probably won't announce it. But I mean, other than that, I mean, the offseason has been like kind of up and down a little bit, but other than that, everything's been great. Like us to be back to an environment where in that soccer environment now. So yeah, everything's good.
So I know George posted on your Instagram. Was he trying to imply that you got engaged?
I think he was like trying to imply that, or he was saying like, is it coming soon type thing. So I think he was just putting stuff out there just to kind of promote it a little bit. But no engagement just yet. Hopefully soon though.
So when I talked to Brant the other day, he said that George was the funniest person currently on the team, but all time, the funniest guy was Jaylin.
I mean, that means a lot. I mean, honestly, like I do think I'm a funny guy. Obviously, me and Brant have like good banter and stuff, and he's a good guy, and obviously we had a bunch of jokes, whether if it's soccer or NFL or off the field stuff. Like we just had that good banter back and forth with each other, and our chemistry was pretty good. So honestly, thank you, Brant. And I feel honored. So.
But also, in addition to having a good sense of humor, throughout your MLS career, you haven't shied away from being serious. You were one of the first players who commented and put your thoughts out there after the murder of George Floyd. You've never been afraid to speak up for peace and love and equality. How important do you see that, given the times that we're living in these days?
I mean, I just think it's super important. I mean, like at the end of the day. Especially with the equality stuff, like I think it's going in the right direction, and yes, it has its issues, but again, it's just we need the support to get back to. I mean, I don't want to say get back to, but to kind of just improve that equality, and I think it's just important for people to kind of voice their opinion a little bit. I mean, I don't want people to be super over aggressive about it, but it's always good just to have an opinion on it to kind of, spread that kind of positivity to, improve it in that way and improve society, because I just think that's so important, just to see people's views and, the ways that we can improve that.
Awesome. So I want to take it back a little bit because I think most people know you grew up in Charlotte, but you're in high school, you're 14, 15 years old, and you make the decision to go and join the academy over at KC. And for people who don't know that process, Charlotte FC didn't have an academy at the time, and the MLS academies are free. A lot of the other academies that somebody has to compete in are pay to play. Like what were the factors that made you decide to go out to Kansas City?
I mean, so it's a pretty long story. It's so I first started when I was at Charlotte Soccer Academy at the time back in Charlotte, and obviously I got called in to a first couple of camps at my age group for the U14 boys national team at the time. And over time I got to my first camp, and I got really good feedback from the coaches, and then you just saw the pattern of me. I was going to every single camp like every couple months, and at one point it just felt like when I went to those camps, I'd feel a little bit challenged And so when I got back to, CSA, it just kind of felt like it wasn't like I was flowing through the motions, but it just kind of felt like I wasn't being challenged. And nothing, it's nothing to discredit, the level of CSA or anything, but like I just think at the time where, I think my level was just there compared to, some of the others at the time. And, I felt like I wanted to put myself in that environment where I was, feeling pushed. I was, um, ultimately at the end of the day, I wanted to have that end goal of, going pro. And, obviously at CSA, again, there wasn't a Charlotte FC back then. So I didn't see that kind of pathway where I wanted to go or at least look up to. So it kind of kept me motivated. So, eventually there were some scouts that came to watch a couple showcases. There'd be like local DA, showcases out. And like, I think one that got scouted at was in like Greensboro. Eventually a couple coaches kind of like, inquired, like one, obviously one was KC, Orlando, and then one was just kind of seeing the weight about Atlanta. So I was kind of deciding between those. In the end of the day, I had the phone calls with them, and I felt more connected with KC with like the vision they had for me and stuff, and whatnot. So, I mean, it was a not want to say a tough time period, but like it was obviously tough because again, I'm only like 13, 14 at this time, and like my mom's talking to me about like moving me across half the country. At the time with some random people that like she would like didn't even know or trust or whatever. So eventually we made the decision that I'll go out to KC, and kind of the rest is just kind of history since I've been there. And obviously I'm glad with my time there, and then led me to Charlotte. So.
And this is before MLS Next Pro. So at the time, KC's second team had a different name. Was the Swope Park Rangers, is playing in USL, and you clearly did a really good job. You were on the USL 20 under 20 list twice during your time. So what was that USL experience like?
I think it was a good stepping stone. Obviously when I first got to Sporting. And obviously when I first signed, my first deal or whatever. And honestly, even before that, because obviously I had the amateur contract at the time. That's why I made my debut, but it was just obviously it felt challenging, but at the same time, like I knew it was growing me as a player, like over time, I was just learning so much from, the older guys and stuff. And then, obviously when I signed my first team deal, and was obviously in the USL from like 2018 to like 2020. It just kind of gave me like a lot of experience um, to have, and obviously bring that to whenever I went, was called upon to the or to MLS, obviously to play, and play consistent minutes. It was just a good stepping stone for me to play against older guys and keep up the speed of the game and the physicality of the game. And I think it was a good stepping stone for me to improve as a player.
And you kept on getting more and more into the first team. Like, when did you really feel like you had made it onto KC's first team?
It's a tough question. I mean, like obviously my first year, I came in as a left back. I was playing left back for like, I think I look back, I think it's like 10 or 11 games straight in all like in competitions. At that point, I knew I was, obviously at that point I was like, look, like if I'm doing well and I keep continuing to prove, I would do well. But I think like when I feel like I really knew that I was kind of like in the squad, consistently playing, it had to be, that tail end of 2020 and going into 2021 was when I was kind of like playing consistent minutes. End of 2020, I got like, I started like the last like 14, 15 games. We won a playoff game at home against San Jose, the first game. And then we ended up losing to, Minnesota at home the next round. But I think that's when I knew I was like, okay, like, I'm getting in the groove now. I'm getting with, I'm learning the tactics with the coaches and stuff. And I really felt confident as a player. So I think that was like tail end of 2020 and 2021 where I felt like I was ready to go. Obviously, again, like I had a glimpse of it my first year, but obviously, I only played 10, 11 games and I got that glimpse. But, 2020 and 2021 was where I felt, super confident.
And one of the things that I really found interesting when going back and looking through your matches was 2020 was also the year when you started competing against people who'd be your future Charlotte FC teammates. So, you and Bronico were both on the field for the first time in October, and I believe you and Derek Jones played each other.
Yep. Yeah. Yes. We was on Nashville. Yeah.
Yeah, obviously you didn't know it at the time, but did anything stick out from those games or any of your other games against future teammates?
I mean, yeah, I mean, there's obviously a lot of players. I mean, with obviously Charlotte the last 3 years that obviously I've played against, beforehand. Again, like also, I think that game I kind of mentioned to Brown. I was like, yeah, like you played in that game when y'all came to play at KC, and then he was saying that he did. And then obviously Derek, like obviously being Derek, um, I played against each other numerous times when he was at Houston, he was at Nashville. So, obviously like it's always funny when you play against those guys and then like now you're on the same team and then again then like right away you already have the banter about, how the game went and how you did as a player during that game. And I mean honestly I wouldn't say anything stuck out because at the time period like obviously we didn't know each other, but obviously the aftermath of it, we're on the same team, we're talking about it. It becomes super funny about it. So
And since you moved to Charlotte, because it's not just MLS that's brought people to Charlotte. After playing with Orlando on the same side as Junior Urso against you, Tesho moved to Charlotte to help run Camp North End.
yeah,
So he might have been like one of the bigger MLS stars at the time to come to Charlotte for a non-soccer reason.
yeah. So I think so. I played against Tesho a couple of times when obviously one he was with Orlando when we played with Charlotte FC, and then I think I played a couple of times when he was at Dallas. Obviously when I was at Sporting because we were obviously the same conference then, so we played them twice, almost like pretty much every year. So obviously playing against him, as well. He was a great player and he's a great guy. Obviously I met him a couple of times off the pitch as well. So yeah, I mean obviously both of them are just really really good guys.
Your time at Kansas City, you had one coach the entire time. It comes to an end in 2021. You gear up, you make the switch over to Charlotte FC. Was there anything about your time at Kansas City that really sticks out?
I would say, I mean, like, I think it grew me so much mentally as a player. Obviously having, Peter Vermees there, I think, and, even other guys there as well, like all the veterans that were there when I, was going through the first team. I mean, you had like Matt Beasler, Graham Zusi, Roger Espinoza, Iko Para, Tim Melia. I mean, you guys, I mean, we had staples within that team and, obviously going out every day and learning from them like was just absolutely phenomenal. And I think one's just learning from those guys and their experience and what they expect of let's say a younger guy like myself to like what to work on and what to improve because they've kind of been through that. And too, I think it's taught me a lot because I had a couple of injuries while I was there that kept me out for a hefty amount of time, and I think just my time being there just helped me a lot, like allowed me to understand how to take care of my body. I mean, not saying I didn't know how to, but there might have been like little things that probably kept me off the field that I probably just didn't know about. And, it was a learning lesson. And, I learned a lot. I learned a lot through that time period. As bad as it might seem, having an injury and being out for a while, like you learn so much from, an outside perspective. So, yeah, I really just learned, learning from those guys, on the field tactically, same time, learning, how to take care of my body in the right way and make sure I'm ready for each and every week.
And I know you kept some of the KC with you, like you've rocked a Kansas City Monarch jersey after matches. And is there anything else that you really that really sticks with you after that experience?
I mean, yeah, I think obviously the biggest thing I'll keep from that experience is obviously like, teammates is one. I mean, I think two, I got to give, big credit to, the host families that brought me into their home. Obviously it's never easy just kind of bringing in a random kid because, you like, obviously don't know what to expect, but between the Dukes, the Burts, and obviously the Colemans, like, they all welcomed me, in with open arms. 'Cause obviously I was one kid with the dream to, go pro, and, I can't, with obviously without them, like, I wouldn't be where I am today. And, I, just want to go out here and say, thank you to them because, they did so much for me to, again, get to where I am. And, they took care of me. And, like, obviously, like, I'm not like a, bad kid or anything. Like, so there's really nothing, much to worry about. But, I just want to say thank you to them because they were a big part of my experience as well.
Well, this is a good time for me to ask this. So, you weren't a bad kid. Did having a mom who was a teacher in your school system have anything to do with that? Like, did you always think somebody was watching?
Probably. I mean, I think, my mom, my dad, and my stepdad, like, obviously raised me pretty well to, be the human being I am today. So I think obviously with them bringing me up and, also to, again, probably the teacher thing did help. Obviously elementary school, like my mom was like an assistant, like a teacher there. So like, I always see her around and like, again, like you said, like you just always know someone's watching. So I always try to do the right thing. I was always like a goody two shoes in school. Like I wanted to make sure I was doing the right thing at the right time. And, I think that was a big thing was, my mom being a teacher and, making sure I was, doing the right things on and off the field. So,
Awesome. So, Charlotte FC, you show up in Charlotte. First thing I want to ask is, I know, in talking to Brand, he told me that as soon as he found out Charlotte had a pro team coming, he wanted to make his way back here. Did you feel the same way in Kansas City?
I think it's one of those things I had in the back of my mind that at some point I wanted to play for them. At the time I was at Sporting, so my full focus was like, try to do what I can for the club. And, obviously I've been there for a while and it was honestly at the time my second home. So, I was trying to do my best as I could there. But obviously when they found out, like, my mom texted me and was like, oh, you can come back to Charlotte one day, play for the team. And I was like, yeah, mom, like maybe at some point, like, I don't know about right now because obviously I'm tied with Sporting. So like, I don't want to, say things right now. I'm like, oh yeah, I want to go back now. And but then eventually it all worked out. I made my way to Charlotte. So obviously I'm super grateful.
And what was the first year like? Like, what was it out like walking out at the bank? Being a kid who grew up here and saw that 2015 Panthers Super Bowl run and all the history that you have in that stadium.
I mean, Sam, honestly, it was one of those moments that like I'll probably never forget. I mean, like just that first year in general with the team. I mean, honestly, all the years, but like especially that first year with like us, it was almost like because it's one of those things like we're kind of that new kid on the block, right? So like we got all the hype. We had the whole city behind us. We had the whole city supporting us. Just walking out that first game, I don't even have words to describe like how I felt because it was just like, you're walking out, to a stadium that I used to go to all the time as a kid. You have 74,000 people. Like, I mean, if you ask me about like a couple years before that, like would I play in front of like 75,000 people? Like I probably would tell you no, let alone more than like 30,000. Yeah, I just got out there. Those first like, I mean, obviously during the national anthem and there's just straight goosebumps. It's one of those things that you dream of as a kid. You dream of playing in front of so many people, and especially to do it, in my hometown, where I grew up at. I'm super, super blessed about it.
So how was that first year different? Because at Kansas City, you come into a really well-established club. They have an academy system. They have a second team. All of that stuff is together. First year at Charlotte, no Crown Legacy. Academy is really getting off the ground. You're the first lineup, and also, you have two different coaches during that first year. So what was different about that experience? What was challenging? What might have been more comfortable?
Yeah, I mean, I think what made that first year so great, again, like I think just the support, all 3 years we had the support, but I feel like that first year, I mean, we just had so much support behind us. Whether like obviously whether we lost or won, like we just had so much support. I just think again, like just the experiences that we had, on and off the field, like it was just a kind of like a first for everything, because it was obviously the new club. So it was almost like every first thing we did, it was just like another accomplishment, another accomplishment, another accomplishment, and it made it so special because like obviously that won't ever be a thing again. And obviously it was again like you said, it was challenging because we didn't have the facility at the time. We were kind of like just bussing back and forth between Matthews and training at the bank. Again, like you said, there was like no next pro. It was just kind of getting built up. So obviously there's a lot of challenges, along the way. But clubs, grow, they learn. So I mean, eventually, I think obviously the club's in a way better state now in terms of, I think just like we're having the facility there, the academy's up and running, the legacy's up and running. So I think it could really only just get better from here.
And how much does that change, not just Charlotte FC, but MLS as a whole? You've been in the league quite a few seasons at this point. How has the quality of the competition improved?
I think it keeps improving because I think again you have more eyes in the league like each and every year. You have more guys coming to the league. I mean, I'll give you like for example, like you have likes of like Messi, Suarez, and Alba and Busquets coming to MLS. So I think like obviously they do attract probably a lot of guys to come to MLS, and that just only makes the competition higher. And there's a lot more expectations to win games and do well. So I mean, especially with my time in the league, I mean, I've only really seen the league get better each and every year.
And so in 2022, you didn't get the chance to play against Messi, but a couple days before that match, you started in Miami and you got to play in this match where you have all these legendary players, David Beckham and Lionel Messi are just sitting on the sidelines watching you play. Like, what was that experience like? Seeing the league get that far along and having all these major names in soccer be a part of your ecosystem now.
No, it felt super good. I mean, like again, like I said, with those guys coming in the league, it's obviously one sets a standard and it attracts more guys, to come over to the league. And, obviously, like you said, like having those guys on the sideline was like, obviously super cool. And obviously I got the chance to play against them a couple of times, but, I just think it's, bringing those guys in the ecosystem again, it makes you grow as a player so much because, these guys are like, just like kind of like levels above, and it makes you, even after you play them, or even after games, it just makes you like go back to the drawing board and try to get better and try to get better each and every day because that's what success comes from is trying to push yourself each and every day. And I think having those guys even around Charlotte and even guys around the league that you play against, like it just makes you grow as a player and learn better. So.
Coming into Charlotte, did you and Brant connect on the fact that you were both coming back to Charlotte? Or did you connect
Yeah.
with anybody else who was like really a Charlotte person when you got back here?
Well, that was funny is like we had that banter where like obviously Brant would come back and be like, oh yeah, I'm coming back home and stuff, and I'd give him crap because because obviously he was from like I'm trying to think what area it was. It was like probably like High Point area or something like that. So I was always like giving like crap. I'm like, bro, like you're like an hour away. Like you obviously went to school here, but like you're like not from here, So I always give him crap about that. But like obviously when we first like introduced each other and whatever, like we both knew that like we were around like the Charlotte area and stuff, and like we were around here for a while, around Charlotte for a while. So yeah, so we connected pretty quick, I would say.
No, that's understandable. So second year you were here at Charlotte, was it was the roller coaster year. It started on an incredibly terrible note, a lot of conflicts, off the pitch, on the pitch, started to get, there was a lot of adversity you had to deal with. And then it crescendos to this end where you make the playoffs with the team for the first time. Like, can you walk me through, the lows of, the start of the season and losing Anton all the way to um, getting to the playoffs?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, like it was just a roller coaster of a year. I mean, obviously it started with Anton passing away, and obviously it was just a crazy time for us because he was just such a big personality, and a lot of guys like myself were pretty close to Anton, and um, obviously losing him was just kind of dreadful for all of us. But it's a good thing we have a good group of guys that help each other out and get through things together. And and I would say yes, it took a toll on us, but we knew Anton was just in good spirits with us at all times, and he was with us in locker rooms before games and on the pitch as well. And again, like you said, like it was just roller coaster. Then after that, it was just from wins and losses and other teammates, conflicts and stuff. Like there's a lot of stuff going on. Like I said, again, we just had a good group of guys that were just able to help each other out and just get through it all. And eventually, we get into the playoffs, and I think at that point, yes, we wanted to win the cup, but I think for the city and for what we went through that year, I think making the playoffs, was good for us. I think it was a step in the right direction for the club, for the players there that stayed into the next year. And we wanted to, obviously this past year, we wanted to go into the year, with a big goal in mind, because we knew we would just get better from it.
When you went into the third year, you're with your third coach in 3 years. How did that experience differ from, I believe, you having the same coach every year at KC for the first team?
Yeah, so I kind of told this to a lot of people because people ask about my experience and stuff about it. And I mean, yeah, it was a totally different experience, but it's one of them ones where, if I look at the bigger picture of my career, like I'm going to have different coaches along the way, different teams. So it was a good learning experience to try to see, how can I adapt to new styles of play, new tactics and stuff. And, how can I use my ability to, better the team and stuff. And yeah, it was difficult because I feel like along with the coaches, there was just a lot of turnover. Like, I mean, I didn't even think about like the first year. I mean, like compared to the ending of this past year, like we only had, I think the OGs at that point were only like me, Brant, Bender, Kalina, and Carol, I believe. And so it was like those were the OGs. There was only 5 of us. It's tough in that scenario too, where you have a lot of turnover of players. It's not, I wouldn't say difficult, but like you have a lot of players coming in that have a different play style, and you're trying to build a connection with them. And then next thing you know, like they're leaving, and then someone else coming in. It's just, but along with the coaching thing too, it's a learning experience because again, you're gonna have to have a lot of more coaches in your career, and for it to be as early, as many coaches changes in my career with those 3. At this point in my career, I think it's a good point for me to learn is because I still have a bunch of years under my belt now. And I can only just learn from, each and every coach that I have.
Was there any one coach that really made a mark on your life, either at the Crown or before?
I would say one coach that really, I feel like helped me a lot was, or actually I would say 2, because I wouldn't say like, he's not like a head coach, but I would say one was probably Pa, that's at Phoenix now. I feel like he, really had like, my best interest at heart. And I felt like each and every day he wanted to, push myself to my max and get better as a player. And 2, I would say Miguel. I thought he was a really good coach. Obviously like with his play style and like, the way I would like to play the game was very aligned. And obviously with me coming off a lot of injuries that previous year, going into that preseason with Miguel, like he really helped me out a lot, get, my body back in good shape and, get my mentals back in good shape as well. Cause obviously, yes, I was super happy to come back home. At the same time, I was coming off like 3 hamstring injuries, kind of like back to back to back. And, he kind of, motivated me to know that like, hey, like you have so much potential, like just like let it unleash. And, I do really feel like I played probably my best, probably under him, I would say.
So in your third year, there was also a bunch of fans who came together because you were getting fewer minutes, but we had the play Jaylin Lindsey every damn game stickers all over the place. How did that even start? Did you ever get the backstory on that?
I honestly never got the full backstory. I just remember seeing like, I mean, stuff maybe pop up on like social media or like even seeing stickers like in certain places and stuff. But I never got the full backstory. I mean, my guess is that, maybe those, that support me and know me as a player, want me to play, more minutes. So maybe they made stickers to kind of send a message to, whoever to give me more minutes on the field. But yeah, I mean, That's like my guess, but I never got like the full backstory on it.
So it wasn't secretly your mom or anybody, you know.
No, 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 no. If it was my mom, like I probably would have told her off, and I probably have been like, "Look, like can't do this. Like you just cannot." But my mom would never do that anyway. Like she knows, like obviously she knows better. But yeah. So yeah, the backstory, I have no idea, but that's just my guess on it.
But what did that mean to you, knowing that, not only in your community, but so many people who you've never met, being out there rooting for you every day?
I mean, it felt good because I mean, sometimes like especially as a player, when you're not playing as much as you want to, or you feel like you should be playing, it does kind of mess with like, your mentality a little bit because you're just kind of like, look, like, you feel like you're doing the right things and you feel like it's like not paying off. And, obviously then again, when you have that support like that, stuff I kind of saw, it kind of makes me feel, a lot better that, the fans do appreciate, my service, to the team, my service to the club. Because for me personally, all I ever wanted to do when I was at Charlotte was, to give everything I had each and every game. Because again, it's my hometown team. It's a dream come true to play for my hometown team, and to give everybody, all the support that we got each and every game, to give that back on the field, it just made me feel 10 times better as a person, as a player. So having the support just felt absolutely amazing.
So speaking of giving your best, like we got to talk about your goal for the team. One of the most amazing goals in Charlotte history, with Carroll somehow keeping it in play, getting it to you, and you put it in the back of the net.
Again, that's another one of those moments where it's just like, I don't even know like why I was in the box. I mean, I think maybe I was like in for a corner or something, and it kind of just like it was like a second phase. And I don't know, I kind of just like stood in the box. I was kind of like, I've always been taught to kind of like if you're in the box like for a set piece, to kind of like just stay in there for the time being in case something else happens. And sure enough, I'm kind of sitting in the back post, and I'm like, I see Ash play the ball, and then I'm like, oh, okay, it's probably going to bounce. But I kind of just like I still stood there. I was like, okay, like whatever. And then again, like I see Carroll just do like this some phenomenal touch, and I'm just kind of like, okay, all right, well, where's this going? And then next thing you know, plays the ball. It comes like it literally just it felt like almost like it just came right to me. Like I didn't move, and then obviously I was wide open, and then just tapped it in, and then I mean, for me, I felt amazing. Just like once it hit the net, it felt absolutely awesome, man. Like it was unreal.
Well, in as one of those fan favorite players, I think the stadium erupted when they saw that.
I mean, again, like once the stadium erupted, like got the goosebumps. And I mean, because obviously as a defender, you always want to like get some sort of goal in. So like once I got a goal in, I was like, all right, this is legit. Like then you feel like the crowd's like cheering for you, and again, like their support, and obviously for me, just felt absolutely phenomenal.
But you also had a lot of goal contributions with the club, like a lot of assists. Was there any play that you made that really stuck out to you?
Oh, I'm trying to think. I mean, there's like plenty. I'm trying to think of one play that really stood out to me. I mean, obviously, I was going to say the goal, but where it's just that. Yeah, I'm trying to think because I feel like I would say another one that I was like, it was pretty cool. Was I think we were playing Chicago Fire at home. I think the first year, second half of the first year, and it was like probably like 30 seconds in the game. And I remember the guy went to go press, and the guy like played it down the line, and like I came and intercepted it. And I just took a touch, and I saw Yordi in the box. I hit like a first time cross, and Yordi like headed the back of the net, and like because like right away like the stadium already erupted. They were already like cheering for us before the game, like doing the pep buzz and stuff. And then like it was like a minute, 30 seconds to a minute later, like we scored. It was just like I was like, okay, like this is pretty cool. Like this is awesome. So I'll probably say that one. I had a couple other assists, like, Leagues Cup and stuff. Obviously the one to Pat against Houston, and then another one to Pat again against the Coxia, I think that's how you say it. But yeah, I mean, there's a couple other moments as well that I felt like, I contributed to the goal. Like maybe I didn't have the assist to the goal, but like, I did something good to, contribute to the goal and stuff like that. So, I mean, there's a lot of memories, but those definitely stand out the most for me.
And is there so speaking of Pat, like what has it been like seeing his star take off?
I honestly, I'm so proud of Pat. Obviously, I knew he always had the potential to, do that, but to actually see it, live in the flesh and him doing it is, obviously I'm proud of him because I think there was times where, between the second year and the third year, there's maybe some, no, I would say sort of doubt, but maybe there's some games where like, afterwards you really hit him at home, and stuff like that. And, obviously I even remember last year, we played New England away. And I think we're playing, yeah, New England, and I think he missed like two big chances, and he obviously was really down on himself. Like, I mean, being a normal footballer, like, you're obviously down on yourself, and I kind of told him, I said, look, like, this is what you learn from this. Like, there's no losing or failing. Like, you learn from it, and I remember asked the interviews after the game were asking me, they're like, oh, like, what do you think of Pat? And I kind of told him straight up. I said, look, like, I think I don't know where the interview's at, but like I said, I was like, look, like, I think if you give Pat time and just let him learn from this and let him grow, like, he's gonna be an exponentially like a great footballer. Like, he just needs to learn a couple things that, I even told him, I said, look, if you need help in training, like, I'll help you out. And, obviously, again, to see the success he's had so far, I'm nothing but proud of that guy. Like, he works his ass off. He's a good guy and stuff. So yeah, I'm super proud of him.
Was there, that we haven't talked about, was there anybody else on the squad who, as a mentor, as a mentee, just as a fellow teammate, really meant a lot to you, or who you had an important friendship with?
I mean, there's plenty of guys. I had plenty of good friendships with. Between like I would say like Adam Armour my first year. Between Mackenzie Gaines, when he was there, Anton when he was there. I'm trying to think who else. I mean, you have the new guys that came up or at the first year again, like Koa Santos, Quinn McNeil. Obviously second, third year, you kind of have those same guys. Chris Hagar, Nick Scardina, Pat, Brandon Cambridge. But I mean, I think in terms of, I mean, I think that was probably it. But in terms of a mentor, for me, Justin Meram was probably like my favorite to come through the team, especially like as like one of the older guys. He was someone that could always like go and talk to. He always kept it real. Like, he never kind of like overshadowed stuff and stuff like that. And he's like someone to this day I would still get in contact with about certain things and stuff like that. I think another one too that I talked to quite a bit was Euronin. I talked to him, quite a bit just about stuff like his experiences. And, obviously we had a lot of common, us being outside backs and stuff like that. So, I mean, those guys to me, I would say, they really made me feel, comfortable, talking to them about, stuff like that and experience. And, those two guys were just really good, great guys.
So, what did you feel like your biggest accomplishment at the club was?
Ooh,
And does Dino owe you any wine for any clean sheets?
I'm not sure if he does. I mean, I didn't really play that much, so like I would get wine sometimes. I didn't really expect it, so I'm trying to think of like my best accomplishment, man, because obviously we didn't like win anything, but I think what I'm just most proud of, is kind of what I just gave to the club. I just feel like on and off the field, I try to do as much as I could between, relationship I had with, front office staff, from the photography staff or the media side, from, the trainers and, the locker room. And, I just felt like I wanted to be that guy that people could, count on, can rely on. And I feel like a lot of people did do that. And, I'm just so, proud of myself because, again, each and every game, I try to give it my best because I knew the fans deserve that. Going out each and every game for our support. They're just me being there, being home. Like, it's a dream come true as any footballer to go play in their hometown with the support and the level of the competition. So I think my biggest accomplishment, I would say, I would just say the service I just gave to the club.
Awesome. And it is on the club side, is there anything else I missed?
I think that's it.
So as my last question before the fun ones, what do you have to say to the fans who supported you for the past 3 years?
I'm gonna get emotional here because like honestly, I just want to say thank you to like each and every single person that supported me with whether it was wearing a jersey or whether on social media or even just coming to the game and wanting to get an autograph. I mean, they just spent so much to my experience being there. Again, being an OG, being the one from the start, having all those fans there. I can't thank them enough. I would say I wish I could have gave more. Obviously, given my time, and obviously came up short. And I mean, there's just nothing I could do to kind of maybe even repay them because they're the ones getting the tickets to come out to the games and sitting there the whole 90 minutes cheering us on from warm ups to after the game to celebrating. We just create so many memories with each other. And yeah, again, I can't thank them enough, and they just mean everything to the club.
Well, Jaylin, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate you talking with us about your time at the club and how much everybody's meant to you.
Yeah, thank you.
Hey, everybody, this is Sam Spencer with Soccer Sheet here with Jaylin Lindsey. Play Jaylin Lindsey every damn game, number 24. Jaylin, thank you so much for being here today and doing this with us.
Nah, thank you. I'm excited, man.
All right, so Soccer Sheet lightning round, quick answers. Going to give you as fast as we can, and hopefully people learn more about you, what you care about. So first one, you've played in KC and you've played in Charlotte. Who has the better barbecue?
I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm gonna have to say KC.
Hey,
As,
bold move.
as much as I love Charlotte and North Carolina, but like I go to KC and I get barbecue there, and it's every time I'm stuffed, I'm satisfied, I'm all good, man. So,
If you're full of barbecue, what's the best thing to do if you're out in KC?
oof, I think. I mean, there's like best thing to do. I think best thing to do in KC is to kind of just like visit like the little like town cities in the whole Kansas City area because I just feel like they all have like a unique, I wouldn't say purpose, but they have like unique stuff in each like little city or like town. And there's just like so much to do there, whether if it's like from shopping or doing activities and stuff like that. It's just almost like just exploring kind of like all like those little towns and cities. It's phenomenal for me. It's so fun.
What is your favorite all-time Charlotte FC kit?
I gotta go. I think I gotta go with the OG, the very first one, like the blue and white.
What's your game day routine?
Game day routine, try to wake up at a reasonable time depending on the game. Wake up, make some breakfast, after breakfast, or hopefully if it's on a good weekend, you know, waking up, eating breakfast, watching some, Premier League or other league that's going on as well. After that, probably go for like a nice little, walk and like stretch, going outside and stuff. After that, come back, have like a light lunch and then try to do some sort of thing to kind of get stuff on my mind rather than just think about the game. So, whether that's, watching even more soccer or, getting on, playing video games for a little bit, just to ease my mind a little bit. And then after that, I'll have a pregame meal and then I'll head to the stadium and get myself ready for the game.
FIFA or FC now or Football Manager?
FC,
What is your favorite coffee in the Queen City?
like coffee shop.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna have to go with Giddy Goat.
Favorite place to get a bite to eat?
I don't know if this counts as being in Charlotte, but I recently picked up on it. It's called Bar Taco. It's in Burkdale.
No, in Mecklenburg County counts. You're good. You're covered.
Okay, so I'm gonna say Bar Taco.
Kendrick or Drake?
I'm definitely an OVO guy, so I'm going Drake.
Taylor or Beyonce?
Uh, I'm gonna go Taylor because I'm a lot more familiar now because my girlfriend loves Taylor Swift. So like I've been listening to that the last 2 years we've been dating. So yeah, I'll go Taylor Swift.
Is there any Taylor Swift era that you would apply to a Charlotte FC player? Like Carol Swiderski, Daniel Rios, Christian Fuchs, Brant Bronico.
Oof. In terms of, I don't know the albums by heart, so I don't know how to answer that question because I don't know the albums or era. So the only era I do know is, God, what era is that? It's not this last album, the album before that. I forgot what it was called.
Midnights, that one?
Maybe, yeah, maybe it's Midnights. So I'm gonna just do Midnights for Brent Bronico.
Oh, there we go. That's perfect.
There we go.
Favorite TV show?
Game of Thrones.
How about book?
Ugh. I'm not gonna lie to you, Sam. I haven't read a book in God knows how long.
Collie
I'm
said
I,
the same thing last year.
I'm gonna go. Actually, you know what? It's a good book I like to read is To Kill a Mockingbird. It's a good one.
Perfect. Favorite movie of all time?
Good Will Hunting.
So both you and Brant date somebody who went to UNC Charlotte. How special is UNC Charlotte?
I mean, I gotta say it's a special place now because obviously, obviously my girlfriend went there, so now I have her. So yeah, it has a special place in my heart. I obviously went to go watch her games when she was playing for the women's team. So yeah, I would say it's pretty special now because otherwise I would have met her. So yeah, I would say it's a special place.
And just so you know, the Swifty questions were from the UNC Charlotte grad on our team. So,
That makes
uh,
sense.
so favorite all-time men's footballer,
Cristiano Ronaldo by far, miles.
favorite all-time women's footballer.
I'm in between two.
We'll take two.
Okay, I'm gonna go at Abby Wambach and Alex Morgan.
Awesome. Favorite thing to do in Charlotte.
I think my favorite thing to do in Charlotte is kind of like walking in and around South End and kind of just like, visiting the different, restaurants and shops and stuff. What's the one thing called? What's the one before? It's like every Sunday, front porch something, front porch Sundays, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's like like every first Sunday, there's like pop-up shops in South End that you kind of just walk through. And I think just walking through all those, it's a good little weekend thing. And it brings me peace to having a little coffee in my hand, walking around. So it's nice.
And favorite soccer memory.
I would either say playing in the U17 World Cup or the first game of Charlotte.
And finally, what's your message to any young footballer who's trying to get out there and succeed?
I would say, look, and everybody says this, like work hard and all that stuff, but I think it's working hard in the right areas. It's, yes, doing the little extras after practice, but also at the same time, you have to have the mentality that you think you might be failing or not doing well, but you're just learning along the way. Everything's a process, and people might want it to come quick. It might last longer for others. Everybody has their own path. So just make sure to focus kind of on your own path and make sure you're doing the little things right along the way. And gradually, day by day, month by month, year by year, you're just getting better and better and better. And don't focus on anybody else because, again, like I said, everyone has their own path. Everyone has their own time when they do well or they do bad. And I think the other thing, too, is just to create habits. Create the habit of, eating the right foods, doing the right things with your body. Especially if I adapted those myself early on, I could have maybe avoided injuries. But I'm thinking still I'm a kid and I can do whatever. And I don't want to say it didn't end well, but obviously I'm really proud of where I came from now and where I'm at now. But I know where I could have been if that weren't the case. So I would say just create the right habits early. Everyone has their own journey, and just focus on doing what you can do each and every day.
And we'll wrap it up with a quick one. Should we have promotion and relegation in the United States?
Yes.
Awesome.
And I'll
Well,
and I'll say why. It'd bring more competition to people coming into the league, and also it would build a lot more players in terms of development. And I think a lot more players can just get better from it. I think teams will have a little bit more pressure on certain games. And I think it would just grow the United States or just U.S. soccer in general. And I think it could just be flying from that.
awesome. Well, Jaylin, thank you so much for your time, and thank you for doing the Soccer Sheet Lightning Round.
So, thank you.